Good morning, Raiders. This is Ezra. Welcome to my Bastion. I called this video Don't Call It a Comeback because I've been here the whole time playing Raid. I just haven't had a whole lot to say and been a lot of real life things that needed my attention. I'm happy to report today is January the 23rd. And as you can see here, I just finished the Python Fusion. This is good because it gives me a lot more time to do stuff in the game. I don't have to focus so much on this. So I came up with a new cool plan that I think you all will find interesting. Let me flip over and we'll talk about that in just a second. And here we are at hellhades.com. Hopefully all of you all are familiar with Hell Hades and his content. You know, he's the biggest and most famous Raid Shadow Legends content creator. And so he got a bunch of other content creators to do a free-to-play series where they all started at the same time for 2023, and they are tracking their progress in the game. Now, I think this is super, super interesting. Hopefully you all have seen this. There are, of course, some neat and interesting rules. I'll leave a link to this page in the comments in case you're not familiar with it. But what I think is super, super interesting is they're collecting a bunch of data about how long it takes to do things and who has made first achievements and all sorts of items. So if you flip this over to show the community, this shows everyone, not just the content creators are playing, as well as leaderboards. And like, here's where I think you find some really interesting stuff. Like, it took people on a totally free-to-play account less than a day to get their first level 60. Now, of course, what they can't control for here is playtime, and you have what I imagine are a whole bunch of professional gamers playing full-time. Now, I obviously can't do that. I have a real job that isn't content creation. I guess real job sounds bad, but I have a job where I have an employer that's not me. And they expect me to do things for them. So I don't have really the level of playtime here that a lot of these people, I assume, have. So I came up with a neat and different way to do things, and here is the new series I'm going to start. Let me flip over again out of this and into my favorite tool in the world, PowerPoint, and we'll talk about what I plan on doing over the next couple of months. And here is my plan for my next series. It's not a free-to-play series totally. It's what spending trivial amounts of money gets you in Raid. I set the limit at $20 American just because it seemed convenient. And I think it represents what a lot of people might afford or be willing to pay here as a casual gamer. So I'm going to take a step back a little bit and talk about what I've done so far. I've really got 3 accounts in Raid. They're all 100% free to play. And my main account is, relatively well developed. I wouldn't call it end game, but it is very late game. I've been relatively fortunate with legendaries. Like it says here, I have 81 unique ones. I will say that I'm a little bit low on the number of level 60s I've had, considering that I've been working on them for some time, and really you should be able to get about a level 60 a week if you're really a dedicated player. And then I've got 2 alt accounts. Both of them are level 50. One, I made a video series on the Deliana account, which was, you too can succeed in Raid using only guaranteed champs. The other was intended to be an Ultimate Death Knight account, but I missed that. However, I did get Rhonda. I'll probably try to give these away. I tried to give them away in the past. I had some difficulties there with Reddit letting me, as well as responses from the community. But both of them are pretty good, I think, as starter accounts to get you through a lot of the early game drudgery. And I think they might be interesting for a lot of people. Here's just a drill down on those 2 accounts. They both have 3 or 4 level 60s and 10 to 12 champs that are reasonable good. They've made reasonable progress in Dragon. Really, that's the first Dragon you're looking for, and have clan boss teams that I think will get you started. I think the message here is I have 2 accounts that I played very similarly in got very similar outcomes. One of the big things is, I saved a bunch of shards personally because I think, especially in the guaranteed champion account, they're not a whole lot of good for you. And also because I think they'll be much more enticing for people who might want the account. But those are resources I didn't use. And that's one of the big things that I'm going to do differently on this account and I think might be interesting. First of all, you have the new starter offers where you can get what might be a very good epic champion. There's a lot more new types of champions, dungeons, and currencies since I really restarted. And I want to see, what does spending some amount of money do? Like, I have a funny feeling based on my plan that you'll see a lot of big gains in the beginning spending a small amount of money. I'm curious to see, how they will transfer as the account ages and it becomes much more of a playtime and luck issue. So here's what I'm going to do. I just finished the Pythion fusion, so I'm good there. I'm going to start an account with Kale. I think that is the advice that most people get, so I'm going to go with that. And then in terms of the starters, I'm going to do Mordecai. I think, to be honest, that Deacon is probably the better short-term choice because he's got the speed aura and AoE defense down. But Spider Dungeon is so important, as well as when you get into Doom Tower, as well as Mordecai is Force Affinity, that I'm going to go with him instead. I think it's a better long-term play, although it might not be as good short-term. Spend up to $20 a month, American. And then planning on using RSL Helper and Hell Hades Optimizer a lot. Time in game is an issue for people who aren't professional gamers, and it certainly affects me. So I'm going to try to use both of those things a lot more to get the same outcomes with potentially less playtime. And then I'm going to play hard. That's one of the differences between my other alt accounts and this one is they were very much side accounts, and my main account got played much more. I'm going to try to play this one more, do more like bare minimums on my main account, and then play aggressively. Use those shards I get, use the gems I get, make sure that rather than saving things, I'm going to start really hard and try to get out of the gate fast. And then at the end of the first month and into the second month, I'm going to do a progress check. I'm willing to spend up to $20 a month on this just as a proxy to see how it keeps going and what I would do as the account develops. Now, I will say that I have zero intention of buying shard packs with this account. I think buying shards, is a gambler's event. And yeah, I agree. If you happen to do good and you get something, it makes a big difference in your account. If you happen to get a whole bunch of D quality rare champions, it doesn't help other than giving you food. So I'm going to avoid that and try to concentrate on things where you can affect the outcome or you can intentionally develop your account. And here's my plan for my first two purchases. I think the starter builder pack is super, super interesting, and you only see it once. The ability to have a 5-star on the first day is huge. And then the daily gem pack, which I think we're all familiar with, is probably like the best overall value in Raid. Now, what I plan on doing with all those gems is here. I am going to open the gem mine early. It's about 100 days for a return on investment there. But I think it's worth it. And then masteries for Kale. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, and this is part of my learning from my other accounts, is open the Guardian Ring early and be much more diligent about using it. Now, if you're good, you should be able to get about a level 60, a 6-star a week using the Guardian Ring. I'm not super good about that on my main account, but it's going to be a learning and improvement item I'm working on here. And then, after that, I'm going to have to get gems from completing content. So either use that on other masteries or energy refills. I guess the other thing to think about, or that I've thought about, is I want a 3-star normal campaign to get a Void Shard. You need a Void Champion to do some other advanced quests. And then at least push to 6/6 Brutal, which I think you should be able to do. That's where you can get 5-star speed boots. After I get a couple of them, then there's debate about, is it better to farm on 12-3 hard, which is better for energy to experience ratios, or stay in 6-6 brutal where you just get more 6-star speed boots. I will probably bounce between those two just to get a good blend of both, early fast gear as well as easier leveling. Then in terms of what I plan on doing with champions, Kale's my ride or die here, so I'm going to stick with him. Mordecai, I will get to level 40. He will probably only be my second level 60 if I don't get anyone else. I am going to collect the farmable champs if they drop, but not make a big effort to get them. I'm going to pull some shards early on just to try to round out my roster and make sure I have someone always ready to work on. It doesn't say it here, but here's something I did find out earlier, that faction wars is a big thing, and especially with the 3 new factions, so dwarves, shadowkin, and now the Sylvan Watchers, it's you can't get those champions anywhere else other than pulling shards. So I think rather than lock myself out of that content, I'm going to work a lot more on getting a few of them just to have champions to at least do the first couple levels. So that's my plan, and that's where I am here at the end of the video. After reset tonight, I'm going to start the account and I'll document my progress. I doubt it will be a video every day, but I'm going to try to keep up with things just so it's interesting and we can see what goes on. Hopefully you find this interesting. It's a little bit different than the rest of the people doing right now, but I think it'll give some insights into what you can do for your account with a heavy but reasonable amount of playtime. So hoping you find this to be interesting and you like the rest of the video plan. Thanks for your time. This is Ezron signing off.